So, to everybody who is here, welcome, and I'm happy to speak to you. Let me see how this is. Okay, my pictures, here's my presentation. Just have to get acquainted. Okay, very good. So, how can I start? I start with myself. I can't believe it myself, I'm gonna turn 50 next year. So, to tell you that, because I'm in the industry for a long time. In my 20s, I was involved in the inception of the whole mobile market itself, in times when mobile communications was defined as two people walking the street and talking to each other, and then talking to other people what else you could do in terms of mobile communications technology. Starting, and I just heard Alan Patrikoff. Is Alan here? Ah, here it is. I just heard him talk earlier today about Cellular Communications Inc. And I was like, wow, that rings a bell, because I was involved with that company in 1988. And I talked to the managers, and Alan still knows the guys, so that is like ringing long time bells. I then moved over to the next industry that evolved, which was the internet industry. You know the web, obviously, started in '94. I was involved in the inception of the online industry in 91, 92, 93, before the web, building a European online service that ultimately became AOL Europe, that ultimately, of course, was very successful. Many of you are, of course, very young. To have to explain to you that maybe AOL was big, yes. At that time was like a Facebook of today. Now everybody has a cycle, and we come to that a little later. So that was in my 30s. Oh, I love the clock. I love that. Very good mode. So I know how much time I have. There's a clock running here. 18 minutes and 10 seconds you have to hear my voice. Then in my 40s, I went into the international venture capital field. Started creating a venture capital fund in 97, 98, moved to California, built a team of people, which is now basically the e.ventures platform that you see here. We started out as a company called BV Capital, and then we renamed ourselves into e.ventures, and we are now a global fund with operations all over the world, with about $750 million under management of overall fund generations, with offices also in Moscow and in Asia and in Brazil, main office in San Francisco and in Hamburg, Germany. Yes, and for myself, for the last few years, I have more been on the private investor side, doing also individual investments myself, angel investing, have about 25 companies that I personally invested into, some of course very successful, a lot of them not so successful. That's the usual ratio, as you never know. And as this is not enough, since 8 years I am transforming a 400-year-old historic village by the ocean into a 5-star hotel property, which opened its gates last year. So it's going to be one of the top 50 travel destinations in the world. And everybody who has interest to come and spend like a 500 euro a night there, he is happy to welcome. So that is about me, and now let's move on, as we have 16 minutes and 27 seconds left. So as I told you, we move back now about 17 years when I started the venture capital field. And this, of course, as I look at the audience, everybody wants to have success, right? Success is what we are all here for. We're all looking for our little piece of success in life. And in this field of venture capital, I found this comic, which is actually from 1996. So it's not a new thing. So that was how everybody envisages that. And I think many people see it like that today. It's not really that easy, but still it works. So here are the 7 easy steps to form your very own Silicon Valley startup. You go to Menlo Park and find a tree. And then you shake that tree, and eventually a venture capitalist will fall out. Before the venture capitalist regains his wits, you recite some buzzwords of that time decade. It was different buzzwords in 97 and 98, as in 2013 we have put down here cloud, social networks, SaaS, e-commerce, solar, nano, and so on and so on. Ruby. Now, step 4, the venture capitalist will give you $4 million, of course. Step 5, in 18 months you go public. Step 6, after you receive your check of your success, go back to Menlo Park and find a tree. Step 7, climb it and wait. So that's like this. So people become entrepreneurs, managers, venture capitalists, back and forth. And this is also why I invented for our fund and team and partners the name of venturepreneurs. Right? So this is something that we define ourselves as entrepreneurial venture capitalists. We are trying to really be engaged with the companies. And as Alan Patrikoff also has mentioned today, we have done some very good investments together and known each other for some time. Today it's really not about the biggest fund, board control, maximum shares. It's about really finding the right deals, having a good team of people, ensuring that they are on a successful path, helping them to a successful exit, which doesn't have to be a billion-dollar exit, and then everybody has its share of success. Right, Alan? Very good. Okay. So what does it really take to get started, aside from this little comic, which is, of course, not so easy today? So the building blocks for success, I call them, are basically threefold. First, of course, there is the opportunity. You have to see something. Then you have to find a good team, good people to execute on that. And this team has to be equipped with the sufficient resources. So at the opportunity, it has to be, of course, the right time. It has to be feasible. All of these words, I don't have to read them to you, but it's like more of that in detail, and I really don't want to give a lecture. My message to you today, if you want to take anything from my remaining 13 minutes, is find something that really engages you, execute on it, don't lose focus on what you want to do, don't get distracted, and do it in terms of execution. My last chart has one quote from Einstein, and it says, "Vision without execution is hallucination." So that is basically my message, so that you know what I'm talking about. Because, unfortunately, most of the startups will not make it. And there are many deaths a startup can die, and some of them I have put on this chart. It's all somehow found. I like this chart very much because it really shows a little bit how companies die. Because although we don't want it, most of the companies will eventually find their end or basically lose their track of success for whatever reasons. And the reasons are very, very many. Because as the successful startups that we see really do not end as they started. So we talk about pivoting, adapting. So it's really important to have the right strategy and the right way, but you can be generally right, but specifically wrong. And even if you're a little bit specifically wrong, then you're dead. So you have to see that you are looking what is working, what is not working, why is it working, and so on. And this is kind of my key message today to the audience here. We have investors, we have founders, we have press, we have all kinds of people. So I'm addressing this mainly to the founders, right? The message is, if you want to be successful, don't lose track of what your customers want. Synchronize your customer development with your product development. I come to that a little later. And then you acquire early evangelist customers. Most important, try to get the bad news as early as possible, even if it's unpleasant. Don't live in a dream. And then find the right business model and execute on it. So to get to hear the bad news early means you're kind of developing to a certain stage. And then you always do customer validation. You always try to recycle back and try to see what the real customer who wants to pay for it really wants, and then try to separate those people who really like what you do and are interested and are talking to you versus the customers that really want to buy your service that ultimately make your business. Because to find the right business model, any company can be defined to go through 9 building blocks, and I'm really not going to go into very much detail of it, but it's very simple. You have, first of all, to define the customer segments and your specific value proposition, and then you start asking yourself many questions. I put some questions on the bottom, and I know these charts are anyway shared later on online, so you can look at them. So my message again to you is today everybody is coming here to look for answers, to look for the next trend, what is best thing. But I think going back is get the questions and then ask those questions to yourself, and maybe you find the answers, and then maybe you find a successful new startup. Because then the next step, of course, is to get the channels right from you to the customers, to find the right relationships and the corresponding revenue streams, define the key resources and your key activities about it, cost structures, and that's basically the whole picture again. As I said, I don't want to really give a big lecture about that, but my general message about that. Don't lose focus on the execution part of it. Now to the global trends. Everybody is asked, what is the big trend? What is the global trend? And I think you can go in a lot of rooms, talk to a lot of people, and you will hear all of the same stories. It's all about community, it's all about mobility, it's all about ubiquity and service. Clearly defined as everything, anywhere, everywhere. So that is the general rule, but then the specific ones have been identified by a lot of other speakers in detail with graphs and charts and numbers and so on. We as a venture fund, we really like innovative opportunities. We do not really like to copy stuff from other people. Sometimes we do it maybe if we really see it's an important thing that we should do, but we are trying to focus on new innovative ideas, and then we try to implement them on a few markets. I have 2 case studies here that I can show that we are doing. And then if it works in 1 or 2 regions, we are trying to expand them through our worldwide network into other regions. Our worldwide network, which we have built out of our little small venture fund in '98, is now on in these 5 locations that I have mentioned so far earlier on. You see the different locations, but it means as we have also associated incubators, other funds that we are cooperating with, like for example Greycraft, or Uwe Horstmann is also here in the audience from Project A. We are working together with them. So we are also very much, we like to work together as a team. We are not trying to look for the single opportunity and then keep it close to our chest and try to develop it. If we see something that is really nice, we try to share it with other partners, and also we are then back invited into other deals that might work, because ultimately the success ratio, if we can get over 40–50%, is still great. So we still have to account for this, then developed into GoToMeeting, and a lot of you guys, I think, I'm sure, know using that technology. We sold the company in 2002 to Citrix, so that exit is already 11 years ago old. So you see. Now, that case study, I think, is a little bit too complicated. It's PSafe. It's a Brazilian company that we are expanding, but here's one for the ladies. Okay. So we have found a business model in California, in San Francisco, called therealreal.com. You can look it up online. You can use it, and it's basically second-hand designer clothes sold online. Usually men sometimes don't understand that, but a lot of women, they like to collect stuff, and they like to collect shoes, and they like to collect dresses, and they never wear them, right? Or once, maybe, right? So, and then eventually you say, wow, I need new stuff, but my closet is really full, and so on, or I need some money, and how can I monetize my closet? So that business model was then identified by a founder, and they created a business out of that. They go through those closets, and they put the stuff online, and then they sell it, and then they share whatever comes out of that with the people. And we are expanding that into Japan right now through our network. So the Real Japan is just starting. See how that's working, just as one of our examples. As I said, there is the other case as well. So sometimes we do stuff that other people have done before. So also a very good success. We have also participated our share in the Groupon success in Russia with Darbury, here in Germany with City Deal, and with Cupid in Japan. Recent financings, what we are doing right now, just 3 examples, what's happening as we speak, so to speak, right now. We have a company, App Annie, which has now gotten a financing from Sequoia, Farfetch from Condé Nast, and Auctionata, which we'll hear later from Earlybird. Just recent companies that we have kind of started small and then growing bigger. We have a lot of other stuff, but this has come recent exits also, the last 2 or 3 years of exits. Groupon, I just mentioned. Kaufda is a German company that we sold to Axel Springer. Zapato, maybe you know here. Angels List went public of our second fund, which we invested in 2004. And then Sonos, you might know the music system, Sonos music system. We sold to our stake to KKR. Pulse, I think Alan mentioned that before, and Yumi also went public this year. As we have 3 minutes and 40 seconds left, I'm already at my famous last words. And as I told you before, you know, being around in this market a long time, having been to such conferences 20 years ago with different topics and different people. But I always say that good judgment comes from experience. You know, not very nice. But you see, it's part 1, because then part 2 says basically how you get there, right? So everybody has to learn to share. Everybody has to do his own mistakes and then learn from them, try to make the right learnings and the right lessons, so that in the end you come to that saying that I just mentioned before. And so I have 2 minutes and 50 seconds left to leave you for a little break. Thank you.
Stay with me on stage 1 second. I'm just curious about one thing. Obviously, amazing list of investments, really. I forgot Sonos. I'm a big fan, by the way. Sonos is an amazing system.
Yeah, we founded that in Santa Barbara as a small company, again, you know, in our offices, like from zero.
Tell me one thing, Jan. If someone in the hall would like to try to approach you to get an investment, what size of investment are you considering in this moment? And what are you really looking for immediately for someone coming to you and say, Jan, I would like to e.ventures to invest in my company?
I don't actually look anyway about size of investment. I just look at the person. Okay. I want to see the eyes. I want to see the excitement about something, and I want the person to convince me why he is excited about it and excite me about it. You know, and then everything else is going to be figured out anyway. So. All
right, cool. So just the person. So guys, if you're interested to approach Jan later, I think it's really a big chance. Thank you so much, Jan, and good luck for everything. Jan Buettner,